Okay. So if you're like me, seeing Rinko's presentation there and the accident on the right-hand side was really pretty interesting. And I think so much of being a photographer and doing commissions like this is sort of seeing those accidents and recognizing them and building off of that. And I think Stephen's work is sort of all about making accidents. And when I was asked to come to Brighton, I was actually really nervous about it. I made an initial visit, and I had done this commission previously in Auckland, New Zealand, which was a place that was really pleasant, but I didn't know how to engage with it. And I had this similar feeling in Brighton, where it just seemed like a nice, livable place, but I didn't know how to get inside. And so I was looking for a strategy, a way to make something happen and to make accidents happen. And the original plan was to work with the Argus newspaper, because I saw these placards and I just thought they were hysterical, and it made me want to go photograph these things and also work with a press photographer. So we had this all set up, and the Argus was on board and all that. And then I came for my visit, and I had this big problem at customs where they asked why I was coming, and I said I was working on this project, and that was a big mistake to say I was working. So because I didn't have a work visa, and I had just a tough guy there who sort of called around and called Photoworks, and so we had to cancel the whole thing, and I was forbidden from photographing. So this was the big accident. This is the big thing I had to deal with. And I was thinking, what's the solution to this? And so I traveled to Brighton. It was spring break, and so my family came with me. And often I'd give my digital camera to my daughter and just let her snap off some pictures, and she'd come up with these really fantastic things. And so I thought this would be a solution to the problem, is have Carmen take the pictures, because then we're not legally responsible, and I don't think they'll throw Carmen in jail. But also I like this idea of the way a child sees something new. So this great quote from Martigues, it's marvelous, marvelous, nothing will ever be as much fun. We're going to photograph everything, everything. And especially with digital photography, you can just photograph like a mad girl. So we went out on these daily walks, and it was really a fascinating thing to watch, because she just wouldn't photograph the way you would expect. So I don't know if she's trying to photograph me in that picture, but she looks down, she looks up, she looks at garbage, and she doesn't have all the photo cliches in her head. There she's looking down. And she also managed to make some really incredible pictures along the way. I mean, it's my feeling, in Martin's talk, he said photography is, incredibly difficult, but it's also, something everyone can do. It's easy at the same time. And one of the reasons it's difficult, the more you get into it, is because you do have a certain sophistication that actually causes problems along the way. You can't see with that sort of freshness. And she would just pick up on things very quickly. And then there were these funny layers of meaning that I was finding. So that, this is a collaborative project. Not only because we walked together, but because I was the one to edit the 2,000 pictures that she took. And she could take the pictures, but I really don't think she could edit the pictures. She wouldn't know how to assemble them. And there are layers of meaning in this. So she happened to photograph dogs quite often. And one of the things that became apparent too is that there were dogs on leashes. What I recently discovered is the two bunny ears in the lower left. This will make sense later, but just sort of hold it in your mind. Now, I had done a project previously when I was in Bogota, Colombia. Carmen was adopted, and we adopted her when she was 2 months old and went to Bogota. And I wandered around the city photographing this place. There was a certain kind of liberation because it wasn't for anything. I was really just doing it for us, to make this little record of this place. And I ended up photographing a lot of these street dogs and abandoned dogs. And that was the interesting thing about her photographing these leash dogs and this sort of layering of meaning with that. She's also got this great low perspective. You know, that she's not down on her knees, that's natural. Here's another martini. Right there. And so she would call these walk-bys, and because I sort of had to encourage her to expand her subject matter to photograph people. And so we would call them walk-bys, and she would follow them and take the picture. And what's great is that people really weren't aware of her, again because of the low angle. I could never make that picture. Look at the man's hand sort of reaching out there. It's just a great picture. Sprinkling in these. And she's walking right at Carmen and completely unaware of her. So after what we did this for 4 or 5 days, and she started getting worn out. And so to kind of make a game of it, we would make these lists of things to look for, and she'd get to check off when she found something. So, bags of bread, we didn't get any. There were lots of bunnies. This was right before Easter, and there became this theme of Easter and newness and springtime, sort of. And for me, I was in the editing of this work and thinking about that as metaphor for seeing the world in a new way. And it's funny because so she photographed this because it was pink. I really like it. To me, it looks like a Paul Graham photograph. And then people here, I didn't even realize this, but this sort of evokes this world of these, what do you call the party? Hen nights, yes. So like it has a meaning here that I don't even know. And that's always the problem with photographing in other places, is that you don't understand the nuances of that place, but the advantage is you see it in this other new way. And for me, a lot of her pictures kind of evoked other photographers. It was really fun. So this reminds me of a particular picture that Eggleston took. And all throughout this, I've been in this sort of ongoing mental battle with Eggleston, this idea of photographing democratically, and kind of trying to understand the meaning of that. And so I was kind of using Carmen to help walk me through that. And then still sprinkled throughout the project were these posters. And the other thing, the added meaning of them is that we would walk around, and so Carmen was now able to read. And you realize that there are these really sometimes threatening, scary messages. And it was a little bit also the project about, oh wow, kids actually see the world in this other way. They're getting these messages, and they're seeing the world down low with these towering people walking by them and thinking about their perspective. And I'm actually really curious for children to see the exhibition as well. Because the museum gets a lot of school kids going through it, and I think it'll be a thrill for them. This is at a toy store. Here's a photographer trying to get her perspective. More dogs. I have a little video here. Let's see if it works. Yeah, this is her at work. There's more of that online. And then, as I said, there was this Easter theme. And so it's, at the end of the project, that's a toy camera. And this, again, this kind of spring blossoming. But this is the sort of picture that, you know, and sometimes she would take it and I would look at the back of the camera and I would say, center it up, you know, or get rid of that stuff in the lower right. And she would retake it and it would just lose all its magic. But if I tried to fake that, it wouldn't work. How am I out of time? Fine. Just one last thing is that I was traveling also with my son, and he was feeling really left out because we were going on these long walks. So we decided to do this little project with him. And so Carmen made this storybook, and we made photographs. But once there was a girl who went to Brighton, England with her family. Said she didn't have school and didn't have her friends. She liked to take walks. She took lots and lots of pictures. Late at night, dog, man with coffee. That's like the newspaper over there, Frightened Boy Mystery. In the newspaper, she read a story about a strange creature. The people were freaked out. He was a bunny, but he had the face of a boy. The boy was so embarrassed of his human face that he stayed away from everyone. He was so lonely. One day on a walk, the girl saw the bunny boy, but he ran away. She followed him to his hideaway on the top of the hill. She even followed him into the secret basement bedroom. The girl said to the bunny boy, "Don't be afraid, I'm lonely too. I don't have any friends either. Will you be my friend?" The bunny boy said, "But aren't you freaked out?" "No, of course not. You seem like a very sweet bunny boy." They took a walk together. For the next 5 days, the girl visited the bunny boy. They liked each other a lot, but he still wouldn't show his face. The girl asked the bunny boy to come home with her, but he was too scared. She came back the next day and said, "Tomorrow's Easter. Everyone loves bunnies on Easter. Will you come home with me?" The bunny boy said yes. The girl and the bunny boy rode home on the bus. On Easter, the bunny boy showed his face.